Support WrestleTalk!
Be kind to each other in the comments.
Hey, you cool cats and predictions kittens. It's time for the AEW Revolution 2021 predictions show. I am Luke Owen. I'll be your compare for this evening. Of course, I'm joined by Mr. Davis.
Are you on the right mic?
Am I not? Guys, we could have before we started. I am on the right mic. Yeah, I am.
Is this? I can't hear anyone really.
Is this a joke? It's gone funny.
Is it like?
Is this a rib?
Is it me that's gone bad?
It can't be me.
It wouldn't.
Laurie,
be
how are you? Laurie, are you hearing me bad?
I heard you bad, but you're good now. Was bad.
Do you hear me bad?
Luke's mic went funny for a moment.
I'm not
We're good now. We're good now. Phew. Good job that happened while we're live. Okay. Hey, you cool cats and predictions kittens. It's the AEW Revolution 2021 prediction show. I am Luke. I'll be your compare for this evening. I'm joined by Mr. Davis.
Hi, I can hear you.
Excellent news. And of course, we're joined by the Jam That Champion, the retaining, defending Jam That Champion, the reigning, I should say, Laurie Elfakador. Blake, how are you, sir?
Yes, I can hear you, Clem Fandango.
Oh,
and
what
I'm well,
cracking start this is. Thank you all so much for joining us here on the WrestleTalk Podcast channel. Just a little quick check-in. We are 10 people away from 40,000 subscribers. So come on, folks. There's nearly 500 people watching this show. There's got to be 10 of you within there that aren't subscribed. Click that little subscribe button. Enable notifications if you fancy it as well. Join us here on the WrestleTalk Podcast channel. It's a wonderful, wonderful place. Also get your Hyperchats in. Mr. Davis will be pointing to that link right now. There he goes. Thank you all so much. Okay, so this is the AEW Revolution 2021 prediction stream. And it's an extra special one because not only are we going to be going through our predictions, but Mr. Davis and I are going head-to-head in direct competition for the #1 contendership to the Jam That Championship at Fastlane in a couple of weeks. So it all comes down to one match, which will be the Face of the Jam-Illusion ladder match, which we'll get onto in just a little bit. But first of all, shall we go through the rest of the card and get our thoughts and predictions out before we get into all of this? So, kicking things off, let's talk about the Young Bucks versus Chris Jericho and MJF for the AEW Tag Team Championships. Mr. Davis, what do you think?
Andy Datson messaged me this morning and said, it's a year ago today that me and him watched AEW Revolution last year together in the office, and we both freaked out at the Young Bucks versus Hangman Page and Kenny Omega match. And that, you know, that bit at the end where Hangman fakes out that he's going to turn on Kenny there, his tag team partner at the time. And, you know, I was super hyped for that match. This match has got a bit of blood feud build with the attack on Old Buck, the Young Bucks' dad last week. But I'm not like, it's going to be a different kind of match. Chris Jericho and MJF, they're very good in that grinding down heel kind of way. I see this match being more of a way to break up the inner circle, sow those seeds of dissension more between Jericho and MJF than the Young Bucks losing it. And I don't think the Young Bucks should lose now. There's far more stories to tell with them. So I'm going with the Young Bucks to retain.
Fakador, where do you stand?
I'm also going for a Young Bucks retention. I think their main story in AEW is definitely what's going on with Kenny and the Good Brothers. Like, that's where they're going to end up somewhere down the line. They're this kind of new super elite storyline. Over here in the inner circle side of things, you've got MJF and Jericho and Wardlow. You've also got potentially a Sammy Guevara who might show his hand here. And I think that all of that stacking up on that side says that these guys are losing. This is a really good way, like Mr. Davis says, of breaking up the inner circle further.
Okay, so we're all going for a Young Bucks retention there, because I think the Young Bucks are retaining here. Like, I don't think it's the time to take the belt off them, as Fakador was saying then. Like, the interest is within this. Hold on, I'll get to your point in a second, Davis. The interest is in this Kenny Omega, Young Buck, Good Brothers, all this sort of super elite stuff. And like, as Mr. Davis said, the interest is sort of in the inner circle, inner feud, and their eventual breakup. And I think, yeah, the Young Bucks retaining is kind of like the right choice to go with in there. I don't know how Glenn Gilberti feels about this, because he and Jericho seem to be on the same page about everything these days. Maybe we'll check in with him later.
What's a Glenn Gilberti?
I've never really heard of him either. Like, I think he likes disco, but I've heard that disco sucks. So I don't really know much else about him other than that. Hey, do you know what I do like, though? I like Sting, and he's back in the ring. It's Sting and Darby Allin versus Brian Cage and Ricky Starks of Team Taz having a street fight, which is a match that we thought was going to be like a cinematic match, because it's Sting, right? And Sting is 100 years old, and he's had that, career-ending injury in 2015. So we thought this.
He doesn't actually wear face paint anymore. This is just his face now.
So we thought this would just be a cinematic match, just a way to kind of like smoke and mirrors sort of match. But then, lo and behold, Sting took a big old nasty powerbomb bump from Brian Cage. And there's all the reports now. Tony Khan, TK has come out and said, yeah, he's medically cleared. Sting said, yeah, I've been medically cleared for years, actually. So I'm actually cool to get back in the ring and take these bumps. So it's likely just going to be it'll be a big brawl. I'll be honest with you. This would have featured crowd brawling, even if this was a regular match, because it's a Sting match post 2008, and that's what Sting does now. So there'd have been a lot of like hockey fighting and stuff outside of the ring. I am actually really looking forward to this match, because I've enjoyed this feud for the most part, but I do think this is one of the weakest booked feuds in AEW, leading aside from the women's match, but we'll get to that. I think it is one of the weakest book storylines on this card, because I think they kind of overexposed it. Don't you think, Mr. Davis?
Yeah, when Sting turned up, it was amazing. None of us saw it coming, really from out of nowhere. Great bit of misdirection as well, because everyone's like, oh, the title's going to change hands on that Winter is Coming episode. Boom! You also get Sting. It's fantastic. And it was like, okay, he's going to do something with Cody, and he's going to do something. And then no. Only one thing happened. One thing happened for months, and it was Team Taz interrupting Sting promos, usually while he's being interviewed by Tony Schiavone. I think I totally agree. They've overexposed Sting, but they had a really good angle last week to build to the pay-per-view. It's just that this is a feud that would have been better told in parts over the course of 3 months, as opposed to just full on for the last few months. Like Darby should have feuded with someone else for a bit, and then Sting only occasionally comes in. But I can't see Sting losing his first match.
No, I don't think so either.
It's not WWE.
Yes,
He'd win the bloody title if it was WWE, Laurie.
Oh, you say that, but I mean, Seth Rollins beat him, because he couldn't stand. I think that, I don't think you could bet against Sting on this match. Like, as much as you want to like build, I think the idea is that you're building Cage and Starks via this match, as opposed to giving them the win. I wonder if they'll do like the big like beat down angle thing on this episode. I almost like wonder if you'd save the powerbomb for this episode, like for tonight's episode of Dynamite, as like your big go home cliffhanger. So I'm interested to see what they do here, but I mean, for me personally, I'm going with Sting and the TNT champ Darby Allin for this one. Whether that leads to Darby versus Sting at All Out 3, like we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Fake Door. I mean, before I ask you what your thoughts are, do you still have any of your party poppers?
I do not, and I will never do that again, because I've literally a day ago finally got the rest of it off the ceiling, so we won't be doing that again.
Which is a shame, because we've just passed 40,000 subscribers.
Oh,
hey!
I'll dig out
thank you, everyone.
I wore my
Really
hat.
yes. Thank you all very much. All it took was for Laurie to come on the stream, and that's what pushed us over the edge. As always, you put the draw on, and the people will follow.
Fake it or just subscribe.
Speaking of Fakador, what say you about this match?
I think it's fairly obvious Sting is going to win. I think this match has been the fact that it's a street fight puts it in the wheelhouse of it's not unbelievable that Sting, who could get hold of I don't know, like a baseball bat or something, might be able to win this match without it sort of being like it's a good cover for his age. I think the thing I agree with you that this like less is more in terms of Sting. For a year in WCW, he didn't speak. He just stood in the rafters, looking down, sometimes holding a bird, sometimes not holding a bird, and then did some rappelling and beat people up before. And that was the best. That's like the best thing that WCW basically ever did, apart from once he won the belt and all the stuff after that. But that's one of the best things that you could have done with Sting. And here it was this. Almost this mystery of why he turned up in AEW, and then it just immediately fell apart that it wasn't a mystery. He's just here to sort of stand next to Darby Allin and protect him from Team Taz. There's some nice synergy in that, I guess, between like he's kind of defending AEW and TNT once again against this invading force of Team Taz and the FTW title. Like, there's something in that. I don't think it's been very well told. I'm not necessarily thrilled to see a 70-odd-year-old bloke, 80-odd, however old Sting is, have a wrestling match or take power bombs, because that did feel like watching my granddad take a bump, and it hurt my heart a little bit. So, yeah, I think this could have been better done. Sting and Darby are going to win, and then they're probably going to have a feud of their own over who gets to wear the face paint.
Yeah, I think there's some interesting possibilities to split off from this. Like, even if you did, I was about to say you could do Sting versus Brian Cage at All Out, but then that does mean we'll have more of this feud, which is just what Dynamite needs. It's more of this. Well, that's the thing. Sting didn't talk by choice on WCW. He's not allowed to talk now just because he's not allowed to get a word in edgeways.
Are we ruling out Sting revealing his Darby's dad at any point?
No.
I'm just looking at them
is
there.
That what you want? Is that what you want, Davis? Is that do you want this to be Kurt Angle and Jason Jordan, the illegitimate son storyline? Is that what you're after?
He's going to be like,
that was a good storyline.
No, because it should have been Chad Gable. We've been through this. It should have been Chad.
Who is a better son for Sting on the AEW roster right now?
Warhorse.
No, true.
I know he's not on the AEW roster, but yeah, it would have been better if it was Warhorse. Danhausen. Should have been Danhausen.
I think no, because Darby looks like a mix of both Stings as well, because he's got the sort of blonde top of Surfer Sting, and then he's got the half face paint of Crow Sting. Like, if he just paints the other half Joker, we've got it all. He's
got the smile. He does a smile sometimes, which is a bit Joker Sting. So he's got all the elements that you need. There you go. TK, give us a call.
He's Sting reborn.
There's no indication they're going to do a father-son storyline, but I know how wrestling works. This is happening. Come on, Arc Tower.
Arc Tower said, I'd rule that out because it's very stupid. Okay, up next, let's talk about. I'm going to get through some of these. I would say these are the weaker booked stories of AEW, particularly this next one, which is Miro and Kip Sabian versus Orange Cassidy and Chuck Taylor. A story that I think has been going on longer than AEW has been around, because this feels like it's never ending, this storyline, and it has more or less gone nowhere. Mr. Davis, you and I review Dynamite on a weekly basis. I'm going to come to you first. What are your thoughts on this match?
Yeah, it has been going on. I feel like Miro and Kip win because they kind of have to, right? The way they were shown up at Kip's wedding, they were humiliated. And I don't think Cassidy and Chuck lose anything if they take the loss, apart from the match, obviously. This was obviously once intended to have Trent in, but Trent got injured a couple of months ago, and I feel like every week I'm like, okay, this is the part where it gets good now. Okay, Chucky is the manservant. This is going to be really funny. You can show how comedic that guy can be. And they never quite get there. There's glimpses of this feud being really good, like when Miro improvised in front of the crowd at the wedding, when they were singing along with him. But yeah, it's just kind of like the Sting Darby Team Taz feud, but it has no titles and it has no Sting. It's just very repetitive and drawn out. So hopefully this match will be the end until Trent comes back in however many months' time, because Miro should do something else. He's a big star. He should be featured far more prominently and significantly. So yeah, I think Miro and Kip win.
Yeah, I'm torn on this one. I don't really know which way to go in terms of like, because yeah, you could make the argument that it's the best friends pick up the win and the baby faces prevail, and that'll sort of be the end of it. My worry there, though, is that it just means they can continue feuding. But I would like this to be the end of it. But I kind of feel like they want to wait until Trent comes back, and then that will be the end of it. But Trent's out for a long old time.
You can blow it off now and bring it back later. You don't have to tell the same story for 9 months. You can dip in and out like Kenny Omega and Jon Moxley.
I know this, you know this, but apparently this is one of the few times where AEW has not realized that they can do that, because whatever happened to the bachelor party, that's what I want to know. Whatever happened to Billy Mitchell? Fakador, what say you?
I was convinced that Miro and Kip Sabian were going to have a falling out at the wedding. That was where this was all leading to me. The fact that Miro is not only just the best man to Kip Sabian, but he is the best man. Surely he should be pissed off that he's stood there in the shadow of someone else the whole time. He's left another company where there was a glass ceiling, and now Kip Sabian is literally embodying that for him in AEW, as he's being kind of a lackey there. I was just convinced that was going to happen. And when it did, I was like, okay, well, I don't know why they're doing this with Miro. It seems like such a waste of someone who came in hot as anything. So I'm tempted to just say that the best friends win here to further a split between Sabian and Miro. But I also can see a world in which they just win and this continues forever.
I think you could do that split at the show. So best friends pick up the win, and then Miro turns on Sabian after the match. And that's kind of how you split that team up, and you can then go push Miro as a single star. I would.
Let's go with that. Then. I'll go with
that. Yeah, I'm quite in for that. Okay, we've also got on the card Hikaru Shida, the defending women's champion, versus either Nyla Rose or Ryu Mizunami. Oliver Davies, yes.
Can you get that image back up again? That is the AEW women's division. That symbolizes it. It's just the champion. She's alone. There's no actual contenders, even though we've had a tournament. You can take it off now. I've made my point. Yeah, I was excited for the tournament. I feel like AEW, they are definitely so much better with their treatment of the women's division this year. But, that's a low bar to step over. And it's just, we're left in a situation where tonight it's going to be Nyla Rose versus Mizunami as the US versus Japanese bracket winners to win the Eliminators tournament. The winner will face Shida. And, out of everyone involved in the tournament, those are like middle of the pack potential people. I was much more into the idea of Thunder Rosa going all the way through. I saw in the comments, by the way, Thunder Rosa, also a candidate to be Sting's daughter. I'm thinking Sting and Darby, brother and sister. Why is this not a faction?
Yeah.
But also on the other side, Maki Ito was never going to get it, I don't think. I really like Mizunami. So I kind of want her to win. Because Nyla Rose versus Shida, I've seen, they always have great matches, but they haven't built it. I'm not into that, seeing that again. Yeah.
We did it at Full Gear, so I don't think it's time to do that match again. Like, I think, Mizunami feels like the out-and-out winner for this. But, like, I'm with you. Like, I thought Thunder Rosa or Riho, the returning Riho, was an absolute shoo-in to win this and build to, like, a Riho versus Shida match or a Shida versus Thunder Rosa match. Like, I thought that was almost, telegraphable. So it's weird that it's Rosa and Mizunami that could be. I'm pretty confident that it would be Mizunami. But I'm less into that. And like, this tournament has done nothing but disappoint me, really, because I was super excited for it when they first announced it, because AEW have done great tournaments in the past. The tag tournament they did was amazing. The men's singles tournament, that led to Kenny Omega becoming the champion, I thought was really, really excellent. It was an amazing, actually, Kenny's run through that was great, as was Paige's. And this tournament has been 2 matches on TV. We had Serena Deeb versus Riho, and we had Thunder Rosa versus Britt Baker, and everything else has been on YouTube. And I think that is a real shame, real shame, particularly because the matches that we have had on Dynamite have been brilliant. It's been really, really good. I'd have liked to have seen more of it. And it's not like they don't have time. They do have time, and they've actually had a lot of time to get this tournament sorted since Full Gear. I just don't think it's all come together particularly well. I think it's a real shame.
Yeah, based on all of that, I think don't take the title off Shida just to reset the division. Keep the title on Shida, build up someone proper to face her.
Yeah, I agree. What about you, Fakedor?
I also think Shida is going to be retaining. I think the fact that there has been no real storyline on TV for this suggests that I think like if it was going to be Nyla again, you would have finished the tournament before this, and you would have built a story going into Revolution. I think this is just going to be a showcase match for Mizunami to add her into the mix for the division, but she's not going to win, so Shida will retain.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. Let's look at the tag team battle royal, the casino battle royal. So we have got in this match Bear Country, 2 offerings of the Dark Order, Reynolds and Silver, Uno and Grayson versus Santana and Ortiz, who are not the official tag team of the Inner Circle, but they've got a tag team shot anyway. The Butcher and the Blade, Private Party, and Top Flight, and a team to be announced, I believe. Fakedor, any thoughts? This probably got to be on the pre-show, right? I'd have thought the buy-in.
Silver and Reynolds.
Yeah,
Silver
she's going to go Silver and Reynolds.
That's it. Yeah, this is it. I think this is the time to give the Dark Order a win, and this doesn't have to be a big. They get a title opportunity coming out of it, don't they?
They do indeed, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't think this is going to go anywhere big. So I think it would just be those 2 guys for a bit of fun. You can pop -1 there as well, and that'll just be a nice moment to happen. I just can't see any other option.
Davis,
my brain is telling me Santana and Ortiz, because even though they just had that AEW title shot, I think you could tell the story where they win, even though they're the unofficial tag team. MJF and Jericho lost, so they can be like, well, we should get the shot now. It's not a story I'm massively into. I think the tag team official status has been a bit, not convoluted, but it just hasn't resonated in the way I think the other Inner Circle stuff has with me. But my heart is telling me what Laurie just said, which is John Silver and Alex Reynolds, but it comes down to Alex Reynolds and John Silver and Evil Uno and Stu Grayson. Like they're the last teams in there. And they just like respectful shake, look up, maybe someone throws some papers, and we just get like a Brody Lee Easter egg referencing final few minutes. And Silver and Reynolds win. So I'm going to go with my heart. I'm going to go those 2.
Oh, that's actually quite beautiful. And I really like that idea as well. I initially thought it might be a Dark Order thing as well, but because they're kind of doing this feud with Matt Hardy, they were meant to have like a big 10-man tag, which has now been taken off the show, and it's now just a regular tag match. But it's still with John Silver and Hangman Page against Matt Hardy and Quen. The fact that Private Party are in this makes me think that maybe there'll be some sort of shenanigans there that, or like that's how the Dark Order get eliminated out, is by Private Party heel shenanigans, and you can kind of continue that feud to spin off.
But that's why you've got a spare set of Dark Order, mate.
Well, that's very true. You do have a spare set at that point. So then you look at the other field. I think that's actually quite an interesting story to be told around Santana and Ortiz and them getting the shot, but MJF and Jericho being like, well, we're the official team, so you should just hand us the title opportunity instead, and maybe that's some infighting. But part of me thinks it could be Top Flight. Like, I just wonder if they're going to sort of push them as this underdog team, that this little engine that could, maybe they're the team that goes the distance in the battle royal, and that's kind of what puts them over the edge and leads them into this tag title match against the Young Bucks, which I know they've done on TV already, but I think there's a potential story to be told there. So I don't know on this one, but I think I'm going to go with Top Flight. Top Flight to my pick. Top Flight are my pick to win that one. I think it's a bit of an outside choice. I'm not Louis Dangor confident with it. I'm not going to put big money on it, But
good money.
Good. I don't think I'm going to put good money on it, but
I mean, there is also that surprise team as well.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, which we think it could be like. I mean, a few people are saying in the chats the Gorillas of Destiny from New Japan, like Tama Tonga, Tonga Loa, Good Brothers could be.
Motor City Machine Guns.
If it's the machine.
Yeah, but does that not move this? That should move this from the pre-show, surely. If it's
but
if it's machine guns or if it's
machine guns. Fin juice. I mean, bringing them in. I think there's. Oh man, yeah. I think it probably could be some. Now I'm thinking too much. Maybe I'll just pick. When it comes to Wrestle League, I'll probably just pick TBA because that's always the safest option. Right, let's go next to a lot of matches on this card. Matt Hardy versus Hangman Page in a big money match. The winner will get the others Q1 earnings for 2021. Davis, you actually said to me the other day that this is the match you're most excited for on the card. So please explain why.
I don't know. I don't know why I'm most into this match. I love the characters. I love the story. That's the basics, right? That on a card that has an exploding barbed wire death match, Kenny Omega versus Jon Moxley, a feud that stretched back 2 years. It's Hangman Page versus Big Money Matt in this goofy supervillain, I'm going to take all your money and I'm going to hurt all your best friends storyline. And I love it. And, on paper, a month ago, when you could see this was the direction they were building towards, I was like, okay, here's a filler thing for Adam Page to do. My God, the angles, I love everything about it. It's genuinely, I'm not overdoing this. I cannot wait for this match. I don't know if it'll be any good. It'll be of a level, but in terms of the storyline outcomes, I'm super into it, guys. And I want Page to win.
Yes. Yeah, I think Page gets the win here. Might be with some help of the Dark Order, because I think we'll have Private Party and TH2 out there for some shenanigans and whatnot. I'd love Dark Order to get involved. Hangman Page to hit the buckshot lariat and get the win over Matt, because I totally agree with you. Matt Hardy versus Hangman Page on paper does not have me jumping for joy. It does not have me frothing at the mouth for in-ring action. But the story that they've been telling and the character of Hangman Page is so compelling and so engaging that it's not the match I'm most excited for on the card. We'll get to that in just a second. But yeah, I'm really in for it, though. I think it's going to be a hell of a lot of fun. What say you, Fakador?
It's Hangman Page, isn't it? I think there's definitely potential that this all, like you said, we'll see appearances from Private Party and et al. Dark Order, and likely spinning out of the Casino tag match earlier in the night. But I think Hangman Page has to win this. It's not as compelling if he loses all of his Q1 earnings to Matt Hardy, is it? Necessarily.
I mean, but if you do lose,
anxious poor,
and then you're down on your dumps, who do you turn to when you're alone in this world? It's the Dark Order. That's literally their gimmick. Was they were hiring, they were recruiting people that were losers. So maybe that's what will drive them into. I mean, that's the old, that was 3 gimmicks ago for the Dark Order, I think. It's like this channel. Cheyenne has got an interesting point now. I just wanted to, just before we get into the main event, Big Cass and Enzo for the mystery tag team?
Nah, he only just came back. I think that's a slow and steady approach. I think it's much more likely to be an Impact team.
I think so too.
I think, right. Cass and Enzo in Impact before we see them in AEW.
Yeah. And just to back up the idea that it could be the Gorillas of Destiny, as producer Rich pointed out, Tama Tonga is talking a lot of smack on Twitter. And I don't know if that's just Tama being Tama, but it could be.
Does Tama do anything else on Twitter?
That's not new. If he suddenly started talking smack, that is his Twitter account.
You say that though, but Randy Orton had a pop at Soldier Boy and it became news. So I mean, if that could become news, surely Tama Tonga having a pop at FTR.
It's not news when Tama Tonga does it, because he does it all the time.
The man's hyping in all the time.
Let's look at. Oh, do you remember his feud with Enzo? God, it was good.
That was a hell of a promo.
Oh, wasn't it just? Right. let's go into the main event of this show, but not this stream. For the AEW Championship in an exploding barbed wire death match, it is AEW Champion Kenny Omega versus the former champion Jon Moxley. Holy heckins, am I excited for this match. I am so stoked for this match. And I've said it on a couple of streams, but I think it bears repeating. It can go one of two ways. This is either going to be like the exploding barbed wire death matches that we have seen, you saw grainy footage of that was taped from VHS to VHS to VHS to VHS, and it looked like arse, but it was like, oh my God, things are blowing up, literally are exploding around the ring and there's barbed wire around. It's either going to be that, like FMW great, or it's going to be barbed wire, electric cage, TNA, Boulder Dash. I'm really hoping it's going to be the former. I'm so curious to see what it is. Either way, I think Kenny is retaining, and this is a way to write Moxley off TV. But I mean, Laurie, it's, you don't do the AEW reactions with us for Dynamite. So I'm very curious to get your thoughts on this match as a whole.
It's, I think this is one of those ones where it's going to turn casual viewers away and I think that-that's always the line you end up walking with these kind of more extreme matches that, some people just don't like it. Like, I think I enjoy it, but there is a bit of me that's also like, why am I watching this quite often? Sitting there going, why are you putting yourself through this? Why are they putting themselves through that? And I think like this feels like something that you could, the problem is it has to be at the end of the show. It has to be the thing to close the show out, because you've got to give people the chance to leave. You've got to give people the chance to stop watching if they don't want to. But this is also centered around their main storyline. And Kenny Omega is the epicenter of the kind of the new AEW vortex that's dragged in New Japan and Impact. And he is kind of the archetype of their future. So like to see him in this match does say to kind of the more casual viewer, like, this is what the company is about to a degree. I think it's going to be amazing. I think we're very likely that this is going to be, like you said, the grainy FMV version of the match and not the WWE or the TNA version of the match. This is going to be horrible because once a year, Moxley and Kenneth Omega like to do something horrible to each other. That just seems to be their thing. So yeah. I am just in that. I'm in that boat of like, I don't think it's necessary. I don't necessarily even think the feud warrants this at this exact moment in time. Like, I think we could have built to this over a longer period of time. We could have had Moxley out for longer after losing the belt anyway. Kenny could have had a few more challenges, but fine. If we're going to do this now, let's do it, get it out of the way. And I think it's going to be very entertaining, but I do think it does walk that line between either being, I don't think it's going to necessarily drag in new viewers. I don't think it's necessarily going to turn on a load of people who stopped watching wrestling because it weren't violent enough for them. I think good wrestling has done that already, not just violent wrestling. And I think it's going to possibly do more harm than good.
That's an interesting point. We actually have got a hyper chat about that, so we'll go on to that topic in just a second. But yeah, David, I'm curious to get your take on all of this.
Well, it's no Hangman Page versus Matt Hardy, so I don't. That's what I think most people are going to be tuning in for. I guess this gets the main, like you said. I am actually conducting an experiment. So I have a non-wrestling fan friend who doesn't know anything about wrestling. She inquired, so do they know who's going to lose before the show the show starts? That's the sort of perception of wrestling we're talking about. And I said, I'm going to throw you in at the deep end. There is an exploding barbed wire death match this weekend. I'll send you the link. Watch it and tell me what you think. And she just replied, so is this a beer scenario or a red wine scenario? I was like, I don't know. I don't know what that question means. I think both, and then vodka. But for the actual match, yeah, I disagree. I think it does suit the story. I think Moxley was off TV for a month, not for a beatdown. So I think they've told it well, and I really admire how they've peppered these matches throughout the last 2 years of AEW. where they feel like big event. This feels like the Avengers movie in the Marvel release schedule whenever this happens, whenever these two meet. I'm excited for it. I think they need to get over what the gimmick is on this go-home show this evening, because a lot of younger fans that I've spoken to and have seen are confused. And I think you start to you need to set those expectations now before it just, runs a bit off the tracks. But I think an appetite for hardcore violence amongst young teenage male fans is that doesn't go away. I know Pete's a bit sappy about it. He's like, people are hitting each other in the head with chairs. That makes me uncomfortable. I'm like, grow up, Pete. In the 90s and noughties, this was cool. So I think I'm interested to see what it does. I don't know how it will play these days. It'll be a spectacle for sure. And I think Omega definitely retains. Moxley's got to take some time off, and so should he. I just don't know what he's going to do with the United States New Japan belt. I thought he would have dropped that.
I mean, it's quite clear what he'll do. He'll just hold on to it for another year, and then we'll defend it next February. And that's what Moxley does with the belt, right? I don't think there's anything that has really shown the disparity of generations between myself and Pete when he did not like ECW One Night Stand or Monster Trucks. And I'm like, that is what really is setting us up for, like, we're different people.
Vroom, vroom.
I think that's the thing. I think that's the thing. Is I think even the presentation of, like, it's an exploding barbed wire death match, like, speaks to something in people of a certain age where they like, I remember what those are. To other people, I think to younger people, it just sounds like the hokiest crap that you've ever, even though it's going to be horrible, it sounds hokey and stupid and not cool. In like, it does sound, it just sounds like wrestling, doesn't it? It's not cool. That's the main thing. It sounds like 90s wrestling. It's not cool when you think about it.
Yeah, Oli described it when it first got announced. He said it sounds like an SEO match. Like, it's just like we're trying to cram in all the keywords possible to make people search for it.
Hey, I call them as I see them. That's how I write the WrestleTalk news titles. It'll be interesting to see, because, like, sometimes when they do an old 80s or 70s stipulation match that we've never seen, and they give them new life, like, the dog collar match. That was incredible to watch. But that is a relic of the 80s, and they gave it new life. And I can't think in my head of any sort of 90s stips that are very in the 90s and have come back and been a success. But I don't think there's been any that have really come back from the 90s. So I'm very interested to see what happens. But it's a risk. It's undoubtedly a risk.
Yeah.
I think there was a point which one of their matches it was. It's the one where they pull out the big bed frame.
The barbed wire sheet. That was at Full Gear 2019.
And that, at that point where they were pulling that out, I was like, this has gone beyond the pale of, like, why would that even exist? This thing, who made or owns one of those? And I think this feels like that situation where it's almost gone too far into like, it's too Mad Max almost at this point.
Yeah, I like the idea. I was just thinking about it then of Kenny Omega retaining, and it writes Moxley off TV, and who's the person that then steps up to defend the name of Jon Moxley to say that he went too far? But Eddie Kingston, and that's the next thing for Omega. It's Kingston versus Omega for the title. There's a Kingston fighting for the honor of Jon Moxley.
Oh yeah,
I've said it now. Okay, we do have one more match to talk about, and it is the important one for us here on the Revolution stream, because it is the fate of the Revolution, but for us, it's the fate of the Jamalution ladder match. It will be Pentagon Jr. versus Cody Rhodes versus Scorpio Sky versus Lance Archer versus either Preston Ten Vance and Max Caster versus TBA. The winner will get a shot at the TNT Championship. First of all, just give our picks out there quickly, Mr. Davis.
It's tough. This is a tough one to call. I was hoping he went to someone else So
I mean, I can
think...
if you want.
No. Okay.
I'm going to go for Lance Archer. Is who I'm going to go for.
Ooh, that's an interesting one.
Because he's been a bit more. He started being a bit more dominant recently, Archer, and I feel like he was due a big push, and I think it's been delayed. And I think this is the time to go with him.
It's a good shout, but it's also TBA.
TBA.
Well,
what is the TBA? Is what I. So I think this is not a TBA that's been built up that much. It's not who's going to appear. This TBA feels like an Evan Bourne. Oh, sorry, Matt Seidel. Shouldn't say Evan Bourne. A Matt Seidel TBA, which is really cool. Loved it.
But maybe that's the misdirect. Like we were saying with the Sting debut, everyone was so focused on Kenny winning that we didn't see the misdirect of Sting's debut.
No, I don't think so. I think it's going to be a fan service one or an Impact thing. So Rich Swann, I think, would be a great shout. Actually, you know who I wrote down in my Wrestle League form? Plug for Patreon, by the way. Go and compete against us in fantasy predictions there. I wrote down Sami Callihan.
Yeah. And if it's Sami, then I want it to be Sami to win because Sami versus Darby sounds like a really good match.
Sami versus Darby. And who else is there in this match that he could spin off a feud with too?
I was just thinking of Penta's in this match as well. Do you remember that Slammiversary match they had? Oh, it were good, wasn't it? Oh, it were good.
I don't think that's going to happen. That's just, I was looking at the competitors. I thought, God, of everyone, I want it to be Sami. But I'm going to go for Pentagon as my
Didn't
pick.
Sami do ups and downs with Simon Miller?
Did he? He's our friend.
Really?
No, but why is that coming out the woodwork this week?
Plug Impact.
Was it an Impact one? Was it No Surrender?
I'm not sure.
Well, let us know. I mean, a lot of people in the chat think that, someone thinks it's going to be Sean Spears. Other things going to be The Big Show. Nick Aldis, I'm seeing. Other people think it could be Ethan Page, like a debuting Ethan Page coming in now that he's left Impact. Andy thinks it's Juice from Juice and Domino. Good to see that Andy's hard at work. Callum thinks it could be Jay White. Cheyenne thinks it could be Moose. So there's a lot of names coming up.
You're saying Juice. I think the Juice. Let's get some Juventud Guerrera up in here.
Oh no, if we're going old school, I want it to be Monty Brown. If it's going to be anyone, I want it to be Monty Brown. Someone's saying Eddie Edwards. That's an interesting one. But of course, for the face of the Jam-Elution to be the number one contender to the That Championship at Fastlane, we need to have representatives within this match. And the way this is going to work is that Oli and I are going to draft our 3 picks for who could be the winner of the match. And if that person wins, we will become the number one contender to the That Championship at Fastlane in a couple of weeks. Fakador, I know this for a fact that you do, but I'll ask so anyway because we were playing D&D last night. Do you have a D20 close by?
Oh, not like on my desk, but I can get one in about...
Oh, you had one literally last night. Why didn't I didn't even think to say to you last night?
Last night.
Up. I can just... I'll roll you one on D&D Beyond if you like.
That'd be great. Thank you. I didn't even think to ask, can you keep that on your desk? Because we'll need that for the stream tomorrow. I just thought that will be there.
No, I tidy up.
Is that a new bookcase behind you, Laurie?
It is, yeah.
Whoa, it looks nice,
books,
mate.
Davis, the books are arranged in spine color.
What? That's that's cool. Like alphabetical, cool. Dewey Decimal, autobiographical is the famous high fidelity organization. Color is great.
It's completely effing random, so you can't find them. Sorry, I should be this side. Yeah, like I not a fan of that, but that's fine. It's fake it all.
I want to do that to all my books. I mean, they're all blue though, so it was quite easy.
Really done, isn't it? Okay. What do you need to know about?
So, if you could just roll it, please. I'll take evens. Mr. Davis can take odds. And it's evens. It would be whoever gets rolled first gets to pick first.
Cool. Dun dun dun. I rolled a 12, so evens.
Gets to pick first. Picking TBA, please. TBA is my first pick.
I'll have Pentagon, please.
TBA. Oli is picking Penta. I will pick Archer as my second pick. Thank you very much.
I've already lost track. Who are the others in there?
So you got Cody, Scorpio Sky, Preston.
I'll go.
Yeah.
I'll go Cody then.
Cody.
I don't think he'll win though, but I think he's got more of a shot than the other two.
I'm going to go 10.
Well, I've got Spears then. Okay.
You've got Sky. You got Scorpio Sky, not Sean Spears.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
Come on, Davis, pay attention, mate.
Yeah. Too much sibilance over there.
He's on the poster.
So, if any of your guys win, you'll face me at Fastlane.
Yes,
for the champion.
But if Brock Lesnar comes down and wins, then we'll have to rethink what happens.
Well, this just stays with me, I guess. That's fine.
But yes, so if TBA, if Lance Archer, or if 10 wins the ladder match, I will be the number one contender to the that champion at Fastlane. However, if it's Pentagon Jr., or if it's Cody, or if it's Scorpio Sky, it will be Mr. Davis once again as the number one contender to the championship at Fastlane. So a lot rides on this because I have to win. I have to get my title back, and this might be my last chance at getting to WrestleJamia.
What's that? You're my title. Oh, okay.
Well, I mean, Mr. Davis, I know that you and I are going to be foes this coming Sunday, as we always are. But did you have fun today?
I had a lot of fun.
Fakador, did you have fun today?
I had many of the fun.
Chat, did you have fun today? Get your chat in. Because, it was fun. It was fun, wasn't it? I wish I could have this sort of fun through the online forums and Patreon. There is a way to do that. It's patreon.com/WrestleTalk. Get involved with Wrestle League. Compete against us in Wrestle League predictions. And you'll get prizes and stuff. Everyone's in the chat now just saying fun, because it is fun. So yeah, go over there. Join us on Wrestle League. We're going to have a lot of fun. Let's go through some of your hyper chats. Thank you to the Poet's Poet, who got in touch with us yesterday on the Raw stream about something, just clarifying that a joke that they'd made, it's all good. There was never any confusion over the joke at all. Everything is absolutely crystal clear. Ben Morris says, funny how Lashley wins. Year-long reign to come is all I care about on Raw, but AEW keeps me watching all of their shows for multiple matches. Reese Johnson says, afternoon, lads. I just missed the peak of ECW by a few years, being only a few years old at the time. If the death match this weekend is a 4 or 5-star quality hardcore match, could this spark a hunger for another kind of ECW from fans? Everything is fakeador. I don't think so, but I wonder if this is going to be one of those things that like the one night stand shows did, that it's those older ECW fans that did switch off once the company dies. Is this something that they're going to tune in for? Is this something that could possibly pull them back?
Potentially. Like we keep saying, we don't know. It's something that's quite untested. If I had to put good money, I would say no. And this remains quite a sort of spectacle oddity that's rolled out every couple of years.
You want to keep it special, I think. And I think
oh, yeah.
Doing a whole, I think more so than a lot of shows, ECW is a product of its time. And probably should stay in that time to some degree. And if you do a whole show themed like that, I think it's going to go the way of NWA's show, where it sometimes just feels just that bit too gimmicky to really go the distance with fandom.
Yeah. Gabriel Caruso, hey guys, just wondering who you'd think would win in a shoot fight between real American Hulk Hogan and 1987 USSR, the entire country. I'm taking Hogan's like on communism.
You didn't read it. You didn't read out the hashtags.
Hashtag freedom. Hashtag not putting up with it. Hashtag Scott Steiner mash. Hashtag AEW. Hashtag revolution.
No, not Putin up with it.
Oh,
hashtag
sorry,
not Putin up with it.
Stu said, you got it wrong, Oli. They're building towards Sting and Darby getting married, not a father-son storyline.
Whoa.
That's so much better and woke.
And they'll have a child who's got the back half the back of their face painted as well. Front and back.
Siren Goddess says, "Hey, love that Danhausen. Would love to see him in AEW Hausen. Miro has done so good, just like Brody, showing what happens when you give people a modicum amount of give. Ryu Mizunami has cleared all of the favorites so far. Everything will be Fakador."
I think Miro needs more, really. I think he's done as much as he can with what he's been given, but I think we all know he's got a lot more in him.
I'm going to disagree with you there because I think this is what he wants to do. Like, I think this is the character that he wants to be, this gaming best man character. I think this is his idea, and he's I think that's kind of what they're saying. Like the modicum of freedom that he's got. This is the character that he wants to be. But I do agree that I think he could be doing more.
That character could definitely be in the ladder match or could definitely be in the match for the TNT title. You know, that's what doing more with him would be. It's like, I'm fine with the character. He just needs to be happening with it than being the second fiddle to Kip Sabian.
Be quite cool if like Miro does do the turn on Sabian, and then say it is like a Matt Sydal is the TBA, and then Miro takes that person out, and he enters himself into the match, and he then wins and goes into a TNT title feud. I'm only saying that because I've got TBA to win. The Zorni says, "I love the fact the tournament was on YouTube. It made it really easy for me to watch. I'm looking forward to watching the pay-per-view with you. Do you think that NXT will be great again when they're allowed to be back in their old ways?"
Their old ways being unopposed. Like their old ways were 1 hour shows on the network. That's not what they're going back to. The reports are, folks, if you haven't seen them, that NXT might be moving to Tuesday nights come WrestleMania week. I mean, I don't think that would change anything. I think they'll carry on the same as they are now.
I think NXT has ended up purposeless is the problem. It's ended up because it went up against AEW. It lost the purpose of being a developmental brand because it was on TV as well. It lost that purpose of people just move on from here and you get a consistently fresh roster of new faces and we build them to a point. We hand them over to the main roster. They F it up completely and then they leave the company at some point down the line. Now people are going back. People are sticking around for years and years and years in NXT. And it just means that it's just become another show. And now it's not going up against AEW. The highlights of NXT in the last year have been when they've actively competed against AEW in terms of ratings, and they've bodged something together like the Great American Bash. And that produced some of the best moments. So now I'm hoping that they'll rethink the purpose of NXT, rethink what kind of stories they should be telling. I also think part of that has been the pandemic and their worry of not wanting to necessarily make any huge moves with the program of like trying out this person as the champion or moving the belt here. They've been kind of stuck in a cycle of stay with what's safe. That's probably Johnny Gargano. That's probably Finn Balor. They've obviously also been plagued by injury this year. So I think once the pandemic is kind of wrapping up and hopefully everyone's back from injury, we should see a slightly new version of NXT. I'm hoping they find the purpose in that going forward, because at the moment they're just a little bit, it doesn't really do much. It doesn't do what it was set out to do. NXT, it's not about the NXT talent.
Finnish Inquisition, it says, "Luke, I can never see you as a babyface again if you don't take back the words you said about Disturbed. The vengeance of the gods of metal will be swift and suitable for your crime. And I'm sure it will also be incredibly mediocre." A perfectly fine band. Chris Petro said, "I think Mizunami wins the tournament. Since she flew from Japan for tonight's match, it would make sense to maximize her stay. Shida wins Sunday, though, with Thea Trinidad debuting right after the match, setting up a program for them. Thoughts, WrestleTalk for life." I think having Thea Trinidad debut and go straight into a title program could backfire on them in terms of like detractors that AEW already that you just push the WWE stars will just come out more in force that you are just pushing ex-WWE talent over your homegrown stuff.
Thea Trinidad is, of course, Selena Vega. Compared to the rest of the division, she was a great manager. And, I don't know if we got to see if she was hindered by the sort of match styles that she had in WWE, but I don't Yeah, that will backfire, I think, very much.
I think so too. James Hanley said, "Don't listen to Pete. He's an ass man."
I'm an ass man.
He sure is. Peter Mullen said, "I love that you got. I love that you chucked a lady into the deep ends with the XBWDM. Oh, with the exploding barbed wire death match. My wife refuses to watch wrestling due to the actual violent elements. She knows knows it's fake. Don't say that to Randy Orton, but calls it murder gymnastics. Is that what she equates it to in her head? This won't help." I like that, murder gymnastics. It's entirely your pay-per-view. Bacon Rasher. Hey, lads, just wanted to say that I'm looking forward to more NXT content when it moves to Tuesdays. Also, did you hear Pretty Deadly beat Gallus for the NXT UK tag titles? Bacon is probably the only person. Oh, yeah, that happened like it was either last week or like 2 weeks ago.
It was last week, yeah.
What? I'm pretty up to date with wrestling, and that doesn't... I miss that?
Sean and Denise were talking about this on the Fightful podcast, where they were like, Sean says, I tweet about every wrestling show that I watch. And you can tell that when people are watching because they interact with you. Ain't no one interacting with me when I'm watching NXT UK. Looking forward to Quizlemania, but we'll miss Luke and Mr. Davis. Any plans for the night off Jam That Jam? Absolutely. I'm watching Bake Off because I didn't watch it last night because I was playing D&D instead. So watching Bake Off, and MasterChef is back on TV. So I'm watching MasterChef as well.
What Bake Off is it now?
Is it Celebrity?
Stand Up to Cancer one, the celebrity one. Yeah, it was on.
I didn't know that was last night.
Dude, we can watch it at the same time. We'll text each other about what's happening. Don't do that. Peter Mullins says, as a married man, I recognize the bookcase thematic organization. That's a lady door that's done that. Condolences, Fakador, but it's always important to pick your battles. Godspeed, kind Lucha.
Hey, I'm just happy they're on a shelf. We've been living in a minimalist house for a couple of years, so I'm happy that stuff's on a shelf. I'm not picking a fight.
I would love to live in a minimalist house, but as you can see, it's not my style. I look through Instagram and I'm like, oh, Japandi is the way forward. That's what I want to live like. But I've got too much crap. And I keep being like, but I also want my toys. I've got my Raven action figures on my desk.
Luke's desk at the office just like sort of accumulated stuff, and I'd be like, why is this here? Like, you had a whole monitor that you didn't need. I was like, well, do you want me to get like do you need 3 monitors? And you were like, oh, they're here.
Luke's was also all propped up with other stuff that he liked as well. It wasn't like, oh, I've got a monitor, I'll get a monitor stand. It was like, no, I'll bring in 6 NES cartridges and stack it on that.
My laptop is currently sat upon 12 Mega Drive games. That's the way that I live my life. I've even got, it's minimalist. I've got a measuring cup up here because I was having some gin last night. Nate S. lastly said,
no wonder he thought I still had dice on my desk.
Yeah. I had a lot of gin last night. Nate S. It's probably why I had a nap this afternoon. Says, I think it won't be a hokey S-word type of match. I think this will be Moxley's legit farewell to death matches, and he'll want to go out with the style that he grew up on.
Yeah, I think, definitely a way to write Mox out for a while.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Well,
I'm an ass man.
And
it's that
you
second
can be
one.
Too. And you can be too. Have fun at Wrestle League. WrestleTalk.com, patreon.com/Wrestle League. Patreon.com/WrestleTalk. Get involved. All of the fun. Please do get to the channel and subscribe. We'll be back tomorrow with the AEW Dynamite review. And then Denise and I are going live with the WrestleTalk magazine show on Friday. Pete and Andy will be going live with the SmackDown review on Saturday. And then 3 of us, the 3 amigos, will be here watching AEW Revolution live and giving our live reactions and thoughts, where we are going to crown a new #1 contender to the Jam That Championship in the face of the Jamelution ladder match. It's going to be a great time. Thank you all so much for joining us. Thank you, Mr. Davis, for being here. Thank you to our reigning champion, El Fakador. Patreon.com/WrestleTalk. Jam that jam, everyone.
Jam the jam.